Thank you very much for that introduction. I don't need to give my intro now because that's finished. But look, I've been in the berry domestic business now for 8 years, and it's safe to say I have seen a lot happen over those 8 years. So far today, we've heard from both Lisa and Michael about various different workforce issues. And what Rachel very kindly has asked me to do is really share some of our learnings, observations, and actions that we're taking within Costa. We're aware that we are a very big business and we maybe have some luxuries that not all do, but I'm hoping you might maybe take 1 or 2 things from our learnings and our observations that maybe help you within your businesses. So I do want to add a caveat though that I don't think we've got this sorted either. We continue to learn, we continue to take our experiences and change and play with things. And if anyone does find the final solution to all of our challenges, please let me know. So I think probably most of you know Costa, what we do, particularly in the berry space, but just in case you don't, we're operating across 4 states within Australia. We employ up to 6,000 people annually, and we use a mixture of Pacific Island workforce, backpackers, and Australian locals. We try our best. I hope that you're all still sitting here this morning because you already understand the importance of people within the workforce. But just as a reminder, the success of all of our businesses depends on us having skilled, engaged, and motivated people at all levels of our business. Currently, and I suspect long into the future, our operations will be predominantly manual. We know that technology is on the rise and that we are all working to do more of that. But certainly at the moment, technology is going into a space of assisting with our manual operations as opposed to completely replacing it. It was hard to get an exact number of people that are operating in the horticulture in Australia at the moment, but one number I saw was as high as 110,000 people per year. That's a very large number of people that we as employers in the industry impact. As a result, I think it's pretty clear that no matter the size of the business, investing in our people leads to business success. And I've put up here just some of the examples of what that looks like. So higher productivity, increased innovation, increased skills, higher retention, and better stakeholder relationships. This is a little picture that I put together a few months ago, but for me it portrays what we've seen over the last 5 years, particularly in the berry and horticulture space, and some of the things that have impacted our ability to get the best from our workforce. From pre-COVID to COVID, there were significant challenges and changes in the availability of our workers, challenges with moving workers around, and also additional measures that we had to take into account to keep people healthy. This really challenged us to think about more broadly how we are planning our workforces, how we're sourcing our pools, and just what the limitations were of probably having a very specific pool of people being backpackers at that point in time. Then there was the introduction of the piece rate minimum guarantee, which Lisa reminded us about this morning, thank you. And that really challenged us to consider the benefits and viability of piece rate as a model for paying people. It forced us to really think about what engages people and what encourages to perform at their best. Ultimately, the question being, if piece rate is no longer the motivation method for people, what else is it that we could use to motivate them? Shortly after that, we had significant changes in obligations around farm workers, increasing requirements on minimum hours, and again forcing us to consider how to get the best out of this cohort that was taking more care and attention from us. And finally now, we know from the 1st of April, changes in the way that we're paying people. So moving those people from level 1 through to level 2. For us as a business, each of these challenges has presented learnings, and I'm just going to talk through a few of those with you today. For us, the most important level of leadership in our business is our supervisors, and we consider supervisors to be those real frontline leaders. So they're the ones that are managing and leading on a daily basis large cohorts of people who are the performance of those people is fundamental to how we perform. We know from various studies that in most circumstances, people will actually work for their manager rather than the business as a whole. What that means is that those frontline supervisors that workers see day in, day out have a huge impact on how employees feel and therefore how they behave. As a result, we're putting a lot of focus into our supervisors. So this starts with the recruitment stage, where we're focused on selecting the right people with the right skills and behaviours. We try and do this through running assessment centres. So we actually bring a group of potential people in and we get them to undertake exercises and actually try and see their leadership qualities in action. We also provide a lot of training to our supervisors on how to support their teams. This includes helping them understand themselves and their own behaviours through models like DISC, and then also teaching them how to use models like the AID feedback model to actually talk to and communicate with their teams. We coach supervisors on how to communicate and lead their teams, and they have strong links with our HR teams to help them through tricky situations. Finally, we've developed many processes and procedures to ensure that the way that we work through these processes is consistent and fair, which is very important when you have such a huge cohort of workers that actually talk to each other about how each one is being treated. Additionally, we see our supervisors as a key source of feedback from workers on how they're actually feeling. So we always encourage supervisors to be listening to their teams and feeding that upwards so we can take action if we need to. Over the past few years, managing worker performance has become increasingly important as well. As employment gets more expensive and some of the previous performance management tools, such as piecework, are actually diluted, proactively managing performance on site is showing to be the key to great productivity and also ultimately efficient cost management. In turn, with this, we're also putting more focus on needing to actively manage lower level performers, hopefully supporting them to stay in the business and be successful, but of course with the risk that they will leave the business. There's a number of ways that we do this. So firstly is by focusing on visibility of performance. As we're managing performance more closely and we're making it very clear to people that there is a performance standard they need to reach to stay with the business, we're finding that people are more and more interested in understanding how they're actually going. We're very fortunate, particularly in picking, to have access to live performance data where we can talk to pickers on an hour-by-hour basis around what their picking speed looks like and how that compares to the target rate for the day, but also how it compares to how others are performing. It's important that we are constantly demonstrating that the targets that we're setting are actually achievable, and we do that by giving our people some confidence that there are those in the crew that are achieving the set rates. Secondly, we give regular feedback to all workers. Fundamental principle of mine in the role of HR is that people are not mind readers, as much as I think sometimes we forget that. So what we do is focus on making sure that people understand what we're seeing in their performance. We work with our supervisors to help them build skills in providing genuine and useful feedback to their teams. We operate a feedback ticket system where people regularly receive feedback, whether that's feedback on how to improve or whether it's feedback on what to keep doing. And that's really around trying to remove some of the stigma around feedback because our teams know that they will be getting it regularly no matter what. We also operate a warning style system to let people know if their performance is not on track and to let them know what could happen if they don't improve. And we do let them know that in some instances that could end their employment. What we've found through doing that is that when we do need to manage people out from performance, often it's better received because it's not a surprise and we've openly given people the opportunity to demonstrate their improvement. Finally, we ensure our teams get practical advice on how to get the highest level of performance. We've spent some time understanding our high-performing pickers and performers to understand how they do that. We've observed our fast pickers and we've picked up simple things like they are generally looking ahead to where they're going next, and that's how they maintain some of that speed. We take that information and try and pass that to our newer pickers and share it amongst them, and also in some instances link up more experienced pickers with new pickers to give them the best opportunity to learn. Engagement is really important. So creating an environment where people want to come to work. The link between engagement and productivity is very well researched, very well established, and ultimately, we know that where we've got highly engaged people, they perform better, they stay well, and there are less safety incidents. We look at this in a few different ways. So firstly, we want to create an environment that's safe and organized, where it's easy for people to know what's expected, and it's easy for people to achieve their best. We want to create a culture that's fun, open, and inclusive, and ultimately, we know that we're setting people challenging goals, but we want that to be done in a way and in an environment where they might actually want to be at work. And we also want to create an environment where reward and recognition exists. Different people have different motivations to be in work. We've got some people who are looking for the money, we've got some that are looking for their 88 days, and we've got some that just want the security of a regular income. Helping our supervisors tap into those motivations can help them work with individuals to keep them engaged. There are many financial ways to reward people: piece rate, hourly, and incentive, and probably some others. But we also know that, generally speaking, as humans, we like recognition that goes above and beyond money. So we also look to do things like recognize most improved, highest performer, best attendance, best behavior. We are seeing and have seen over the last few years increasing interest from external bodies, and I'll be very careful what I say about Fair Work with this one. We see this in many formats. So we've seen increasing interest from unions, Fair Work, Australian Border Force, media, local communities, and local councils. Some of these are regulatory, others have different and varied interests in being involved and talking to our business. I think we've heard a little bit of this morning, a lot of this comes from, unfortunately, people in our industry doing the wrong thing, and from people knowing that there's parts of our workforce that are vulnerable. The way that we're managing this is to actually try and build strong and proactive relationships with all of these bodies and organizations, making sure that our practices and records are accurate and up to date, and by taking feedback on board when it's provided to us. Often these are opportunities to learn, and we really try and go into any interactions with that open mindset and knowing that we could actually learn something from what these organizations are telling us. I think it would be remiss of me not to touch on technology a little bit, as it is a key focus currently. Employment costs are increasing, we know that, and technology is a viable solution to counteract that down the line, but a lot of technology is new and in development phases. We saw Simon shared yesterday that picture of the vision of the future for the berry industry. That is a long way off, if it ever exists. Going forward to the introduction of technology into the business, whether it's robotic or whether it's simply getting more sophisticated with data collection and usage, the key will be managing the change impact on our workforce. If we're able to engage people from the start in getting this technology in place, they're more likely to adopt the changes we're trying to make. So far, from what we've done, the indications are that our teams are interested, engaged, and on board with what we're trying to do in the tech space. We're definitely seeing people open to tools that are going to help them to perform their roles better and more efficiently. We've also seen really good success in engaging the teams in that design, rollout, and feedback part of putting the technology in place, and have seen some really great and practical ideas from them on how to improve it. There's many models for change management, and I've just put one up here, but my learning over the years is that the most important and consistent element of change and putting in things like technology is around communicating openly and early with your teams about what you're doing and why. The final point before I stop talking about Costa is just really how our HR team help with this whole process. So we are fortunate to have a HR team that is sizable and well experienced, and there's a number of ways that team help across the business. So we are there to coach leaders through tricky conversations. We're there to support with advice through processes and procedures that we have. We're involved in training, design and delivery to be upskilling our frontline supervisors. We're there for workforce planning to ensure that we're continuously challenging our workforce model and trying to figure out what the future could look like. We assist in external relationship building to make sure that we've got healthy and productive relationships with key external bodies. And we also support in the recruitment of workers. The key value, though, that I think that we have in our HR team is that we can be looking forwards and outside of the business to try and see what's going to hit us in the future and ensure that we can plan proactively for that. Enough about Costa. I wanted to just leave you with one final thought. You don't build a business, you build people, and then people build the business. Whether we're talking about CEO level or any other role that exists within the business exists because of its people. We can build great businesses through great people, or we can build the complete opposite. Small actions each day by all people across your business define which end of that performance scale our people and therefore our business sits on. Thank you very much.